Recording in progress.
Make sure your phones are silenced. All right, it is Monday, June 10th, 2024 at 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and open the meeting. We will do a roll call, start with Alex.
Alexander Graham, present.
Dave Gavigan.
Tom Bouchard.
Bob Goslin.
Jonathan Barnett.
We have a full board here tonight. And I think the first thing that we should do is, because we don't want to bore these people with this, I think we should reorganize. After an election, we have to reorganize. Congratulations to the well-fought battle by Alex.
Thank you for the support.
He was appointed last year when someone resigned, and here he is back again. He did a write-in campaign and won, and I'm glad he's here. We need the help.
Glad to be here.
So, why don't we start by reorganizing?
I'll make a motion that we nominate Tom Bouchard as chairman.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? Nobody? You sure?
I didn't even ask you if you wanted it.
I noticed. All right, so, did someone second that? John did. Yeah, great, good job. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? 5-0.
Well done.
Dave, you want to be,
I'll do it again if you want, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I'll make a motion to nominate Dave as co-chair, vice chair.
I second the motion.
It's been moved, seconded by Alex. Any further discussion? Nope. All those in favor say aye.
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 We usually make the new guy the clerk, right?
You do. You don't have to do much. Read notices, legal notices.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm here to help in any way I can. If that's being the clerk.
We'll make sure.
Alex, you have that extra
Bob?
5 hours a
I'll
day.
make, I'll
4
make a
hours.
4
motion.
hours, yeah, it's true.
I'll make a motion that we nominate Alex as the clerk.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. We are now reorganized.
Did you take a vote on that?
Oh, I didn't vote.
No, we didn't.
I was anxious to get it all over with. All those in favor of Alex, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's been a while. We're out of practice.
I would have been spinning in purgatory for a while. Just doing all my clerk duties.
Yeah. All right, so that's over with. All right, Ty, you're missing your board.
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 appointments that we could do as well.
We're gonna do those.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna wait on that one. Those are not on the agenda, but they're in the letter. I saw those.
What?
The appointments?
They were in the same thing with the reorganization.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, yeah, so we have 2 committees we need members for. The CPC, which is the Community Preservation Committee, which was, what's her name was on that? Huh? Joanne Cullen was on that. And she has resigned, so we need somebody else for the Community Preservation Committee.
I've been on that
Alex,
committee.
yeah, Alex is already,
What's that?
didn't we already make Alex?
Yeah.
We already made you on there?
Yeah, I've been attending the meetings.
Oh,
Yeah, I hope I'm supposed to be there.
no, so that was from before, so now we're reorganizing. We might as well, if you're still interested in that?
Yeah, I'd like to still do it. I'd like to, be
It's a great committee.
I'd like to have the opportunity to start from the beginning too, because when I joined, it was already at the tail end of everything. So it would be
Yeah.
interesting to see how it goes this upcoming year. I'd like to continue to do it.
All right, we have a nomination for Alex.
Had enough.
I'll nominate Alex to be on the CPC for the
I'll second.
planning board.
It's been moved and seconded by Jonathan. Moved by David, second by Jonathan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous. Congratulations again. All right, we got one more for you. No.
I didn't save that much time.
You gotta wish you worked in town.
Let's see. So, the last one is a working group for privately owned transfer station. Val, you want to explain that one?
Yeah, the selectmen are meeting, I think Thursday night, and there's a gentleman came and presented a couple of weeks ago to the select board about the possibility of a private waste transfer station type thing here in town, what would use the commuter rail. And in order to negotiate the possible terms and talk through what that would mean for the town of Kingston, the selectmen are gonna form a small group that they're talking about on their agenda, and I thought, well, since we're meeting this week, we could.
We'll talk
go
about
ahead
it
and do
anyway,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so if somebody wanted to be, it'd be probably a short-term, couple months, position where the group would meet a few times. There'd be one selectman, one planning board member, and then staff, primarily, and we're gonna, hire an outside consultant as well to help with that, so, that's the gist of it.
And you said on the parking lot of the MBTA, is that what you said?
It's not on the parking lot at the MBTA station, it's on the other side of the train station on the O'Donnell property.
Oh, okay.
So what are they thinking of closing the transfer
No,
station?
no.
They're not,
No.
none of that's been discussed.
This is gonna be taken recyclables.
Not recyclables.
That's what I was told.
I know, there's been some miscommunications done, and I
Alright,
want
then
to
you
make
go
sure
ahead
we're
then.
clear.
Everything I was told was a lie, I guess.
There has been some misstatements, it's solid waste, and they'll be coming in by truck using, and that's part of the negotiations, using state-owned roads, for the most part. They'd come in mainly off the exit ramp and come right down Marion and Gallen to what's the O'Donnell property, which they're leasing a portion of, which is next to the train tracks. And then they would put the solid waste into capped rail cars, which would then head out once per day, one train per day. The idea here is that all of the landfills on the South Shore are filling up to the point where they're gonna be out of capacity within 5 years. That's a known fact. And we have to do something else with the solid waste that's here on the South Shore. And that's gonna either be trucking it out or hauling it out by train or both. Some of it's trucked out now. This is an opportunity for us to talk about it and see what our thoughts are. And the task force is the way we're gonna do that. May it impact the transfer station? We don't know. That would be the terms of this discussion that we would have.
It might be a positive impact.
It would be a positive impact because we can get costs per tonnage, and fees to the town. We can get some additional fees to the town. We can get costs for maintenance of those two roads, which are public roads, to the town
Probably some
on a
job
regular
opportunities.
basis. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to negotiate, and it's one of the very few opportunities for us to look at a revenue source in town over the next several years while we don't have additional water or sewer capacity to,
So has the selectmen, have they decided about the formation of the committee? I could ask Tyler.
well, they
There's no-
haven't yet. They're gonna
Okay.
be discussing it on Thursday, so we can wait. I just thought I'd put it on the agenda in case you wanted to go ahead and appoint someone. And I think they're
Is
gonna do
this
it.
indoor or outdoor?
It's completely indoors.
I know that's what it was from the start. The
Yeah.
rest of it was wrong, so I didn't want to repeat it.
No, that's the only part that was a little bit
Which
confusing.
I'd rather have that.
Yeah,
I mean, solid waste is disgusting. But, it's gotta be somewhere.
yeah, and there's lots of other communities that have this, but they don't have the asset of the trains. It reduces the impact to the state. It's one train, so we wouldn't really notice
So
it.
it's during off hours in between commuter?
In between the commuters, yep,
So it'd be during the middle of the night or something?
yeah. And we can work.
Has the MBTA agreed to that yet?
The MBTA is, the owner of the tracks has agreed to it. And the owner is a freight owner company that, the MBTA uses those rails. There's a freight hauler that just recently acquired the rights to the rails, and they're the ones who have agreed that third rail, there's actually 3 rails that come out the end there, and the third rail is not used, and that third rail is available for this facility. So it's a really good opportunity for us to talk about it, and it could be a really good revenue stream worth talking about. Whether we
Yes.
agree to it or not is all.
We should talk about it for sure.
We should certainly talk about it. There's definitely people that have a lot of concerns and questions, and that's rightly so.
I know Alex might have something to add to that, because he's involved with the MBTA in some sort of way.
One of the things I could add with that is right now, I know for at least the commuter rail, they're not having a lot of riders, and it's leaving things kind of open. It isn't being utilized like it should. I like the idea of utilizing them to transport waste if it can be done in a sanitary and safe way, especially if it's off hours. I'm curious as to how it impacts things with this MBTA task force meeting, the zoning and everything, how that's gonna affect it, if it's gonna be around the same area, if we're gonna try to make that more residential. But I think we should utilize all the assets we have in Kingston, and that is one of the assets that we have. And if we can do that to help not only Kingston, but the greater South Shore community, I think it's worth talking about. But it has to be able to work for Kingston.
Anybody else? It's a dirty business.
I'm just wondering how much,
Do you have
how
anything to
many
say
trucks
about
we're
that?
talking about,
All of that will be part of the discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your committee doesn't look, it looks thin,
Yeah,
except for you, I mean.
we did let everybody know.
We live and have a quorum.
Listen, happy birthday, by the way.
What, today?
Today's his birthday. That's
Happy
why he
birthday.
wanted to be here to
Happy
celebrate with us.
Yay! I know.
Okay.
So, all right, well, that's great, Val. I think that we should keep our eyes and ears on that, and, yeah, if anybody has any ideas how that committee, we could maybe help the selectmen.
Is there anyone that wants
What
to
the makeup
volunteer
would
to
Does
like
somebody
be a
wanna be-
potential?
I would say we should announce if there's anybody that's interested in working.
We want it to be a planning board member.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, who said that?
staff,
There's one
one
representative from
selectman,
each,
one
from
planning board.
multiple.
It's not out for the general public. We're not, it's a working task force of staff with some of the elected officials and a
Well, doesn't
consultant.
that stink?
Well, it's gonna have all kinds of input from the other groups,
No
but
pun
we
intended.
want somebody from the planning board to be on it.
All right,
why
well,
it's
then I
okay.
won't announce anything.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
I have some interest in it.
The planning
so
board-
I'm not sure if Alex does too, but.
I told my wife I'd only join one committee today when I left.
Dave, if you could please lean into the microphone when you
Oh, I'm
speak.
sorry.
Thank you.
Is that like motioning over there?
Well, oftentimes the public can't hear you
Okay.
because you tend
And
to
when I
lean
do the
back.
minutes, I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah, some people just, it's just an instant, they sit back when they talk. and you
I thought
know.
these things were super
well,
sensitive,
you're
so I
way
didn't
loud,
worry
so
about
it
it.
doesn't matter if you do it.
I'm loud, yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. All right, thanks, Erin, for that.
You're welcome.
You're always
So
there
no-
for me.
So David has volunteered perhaps to be on, or are we gonna wait?
No one's even put together a member thing on this yet, correct?
I'm telling you that it's planning board, a selectman, the town planner, the town building commissioner, the DPW director, Paul Basler, probably Joyce, the health agent, Keith, and a consultant. We're also gonna get input from the recycling committee, Paul represents the transfer station, and also we're looking at talking to the South Shore network that does solid waste. So.
David, you interested in that? I think you'd be good for
Yeah.
that.
I'd be interested in serving, yeah.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Is that
We need to
it?
make a motion for that?
No, if that's the consensus, that's fine enough for me.
We can, at our next meeting, if we have to, we will.
Okay,
But we have a volunteer. Thank you,
All right.
David.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I know you guys were stumbling over each other to get on that board, so.
Yeah.
You didn't do it, I was gonna.
Well, you beat him to the punch.
Yeah, that's great.
Just saying that.
But you're a lot faster than me. I didn't want to be on anything that Ty was on, so.
Do you think you have members coming?
They were all invited, none of them said that they wouldn't make it, so we have 2 of them.
Oh, Mark's on there?
No,
Who's two?
Bud Loring, Buzz
Oh, you're on there.
Acciano, me,
Buzz told me he was gonna be here.
yeah.
Bill Watson.
Oh, Bill Watson. Come on, Bill, get your butt down here. Let's go.
That it? Am I missing anybody? We got said him already, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't need,
Yeah. We
you
can
can't
go
open your
ahead.
meeting, but we can still have a discussion.
Yeah. They've already voted on this, so it's not critical that,
All right, well, Val, I guess that you should, do your thing with that.
so, all right, well, I'm gonna do a screen share. We have representatives here from the mall that are also gonna present briefly. When I say the mall, I mean Second Horizon, it's the new owners of.
They don't want to
of
be
the mall.
called the mall anymore.
I know, but I want to be familiar for everyone. Kingston Collection. I'm going to share my screen and just walk you through
Okay.
I think it's 5 slides. It's not painful that I know of.
Okay, Val.
Let's see.
Down on
You have this too, right there. You have this.
Okay, so this is just, you've already seen how we developed the overlay districts and what the shapes are, but just to remind everyone, these are the.
Are you trying to share your screen?
Yeah, is it not working? I shared it.
There we go.
Val, I just shared it too. Did it just pop up?
Your screen's showing, mine's not.
Okay, which would you prefer? I can stop sharing.
Well, I have a PowerPoint too, that's different than yours.
Well, then you should take it.
I'm trying. It's not letting me share, so maybe I'm gonna give up and let you guys go first while we sort out why I can't share my screen. Try again. I don't need to be the host to share a screen that I know of. It's allowing me to. I'm not the host, I'm just trying to share a screen. Okay, that's not working. How about Second Horizon goes first and try and figure this out?
All right. Todd, I think you have your screen up. So I'll give a quick introduction and then turn it over to Todd and Mark. But good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Good evening.
My name is Howard Erdane. I'm one of the co-founders and managing partners of Second Horizon Capital. We're pleased to be investing in the long-term future of Kingston Collection. Over the past year, we've been focused on stabilizing the center, enhancing operations, improving property maintenance, and building our team, alongside working to build the foundation for the center's next steps. We look forward to continuing on this path toward revitalizing the property as an improved and renewed community hub alongside you all. This evening, I'm glad to introduce our team at Page Sutherland Page, with whom we've been working in setting the ongoing steps in our visioning process, and invite them to walk through a few slides that lay out some of our broader initial thoughts in designing the center's transformation. So with that, Mark and Todd.
Thanks, Howard. So I'm Todd Ray. I'm one of the principals and designers over at Page Sutherland Page, and with me here is Mark Massey. Mark, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself there?
Good evening, Mark Massey, the project manager working with Todd and Second Horizon. I'm kind of the day-to-day contact and working closely with Val.
And he's, he's in charge. He just keeps us all in line. We're excited to be here, and thanks for taking the time and letting us show some of the things that we've been working on for the past couple of months. And so overall, some of the ideas that we've been thinking, it's sort of captured here in the top left, where it says Destination Kingston. It's an all-season family entertainment space. And so basically what we're imagining is how we can begin to take and transform the current asset that we have into a new sort of Main Street town center. And how do we begin to really activate it so that it can begin to host anything from, arts events, all times of the year. And then also there's a whole range of sort of fitness activities you can do, as well as, we've got to have a good car show. That's the one that I really like. But you can see how this is done in various places throughout the country now, and sort of models that we're beginning to look at to see how they're really applicable to the Kingston collection site. We have 4 project goals we wanted to illustrate to you. The first one is increased experience spaces. And I'll run down and show you some of these, so we don't need to get into the full definitions now. And then the second one is increased mix of uses versus mixed use, and I'll talk about that in depth. Creating third places, improving mobility and connectivity, and then also breaking down barriers. And so what do we mean by some of these things? Now, the first one is increased experience spaces. Looking at the site and looking at all of the assets that are surrounding the site, we got really excited about some of the opportunities. And one of them is sort of this notion that we can have really solid sort of food and beverage activities that can be performed on the site as we begin to break down the scale of the site and activate it. And then the other thing is the adjacencies that we have to like Nikon, the Nikon Park, and then Lake Nikon, and then also the cranberry bog that's existing, and how we can begin to revitalize that and then refurbish it and then turn it into an operational bog possibly. We'll see. The other thing is the amount of parks that we have in the immediate periphery and all of the trail connectors that has. We can begin to tie in that entire sequence. Also looking at the notion of mix of uses. There is a really wide use of entertainment, particularly family-based entertainment that's currently at Kingston Collection. That's really successful. People come from miles around to bring their family together and have events at these spaces, and that's a really great component. We're going to be complementing that with some multifamily, and that multifamily is going to be sustainably focused. It's also going to be oriented toward the transit center that we have, and so it's really going to increase the possibility of sort of the living density, but then also the adjacency of in some of the suburbs into Boston. And then again, we're going to enhance the food and beverage retail component. And then so it gives outdoor activities in connection to retail events or retail spaces that can begin to repopulate, rescale the site so that it will become more pedestrian friendly. And then we're kind of looking toward and sort of creating these third places. And the third places are sort of the edges and sort of refining some of the spaces we begin to open up as we begin to sort of surgically work on the mall. One of them is the parking spaces. Right now we have an ocean of asphalt. That is like the absolute thing that we're not interested in. And then so we're looking at strategies that we can begin to implement a lot more landscaping, permeable pavers, any way that we can begin to mitigate and better treat stormwater on the site so that when it does get filtered down into the aquifer, it's going to be cleaner and cooler so it disseminates into the regional lake and regional pond, smelt pond there. The other thing is that we're going to have community and family centers. As we begin to open up the mall, build some different kinds of opportunities, we're thinking about these centers that can bring people together and really dedicated to that notion of family center so that we can have a full spectrum of age and then all sorts of events that'll be programmed there. And as we do that, we begin to create these landmarks and event spaces on the site. And those can become very iconic as far as tall or, making measures in the landscape, but then also these iconic places that people come and they gather. And then another one is the increased mobility and connectivity, because right now you can imagine we've got this huge asphalt, we've got the mall, and then we've got a ring road, and then we've got some other peripheral roads with Cherry Road and Ramboth Road that's coming around. How do we begin to organize those a little bit better? And as we organize them and think about how they exchange with the current mall building, Can we break those streets down into more pedestrian-friendly streets so that you can have a sidewalk that next to it, and it doesn't seem like you're going 50 miles an hour next to just sort of a barrier area. And then so breaking those down with trees, street seating, a whole range of different ways to activate sort of a street edge. And then also looking at internal to the site, there are going to be areas that we don't have any roadways. And then how can those circulation begin to create a connection between the multifamily, the retail cores, and then also any other activities that we have on the site. And then thinking about not only from this or internal to the site, but also external from the site. We begin to look at, all of the hiking trails that we have and the biking trails that we have in the periphery. We can tie all of that into the entire extension, to Camp Nikon, and then also into the other peripheral ones to the east, as well as Monk's Hill. And then how we loop those in so that we can have this site now becomes a primary trailhead for the distribution throughout sort of the network that moves through Kingston. And then looking back at the building that is currently the Kingston Collection Mall, the mall itself is really large as a building. And then so that's not exactly pedestrian friendly. The walls are really tall. The building is internalized, it's not externalized, and so it's hard to get into and then sort of navigate, and then you're away from nature. How can we begin to look at breaking down these barriers? One is to really enhance the pedestrian experience, and so reimagine what it's like to walk around and through and in the mall, and maybe invert the mall so that the exterior is basically, part of that connective space. When we begin to do that, we also want to do what's called breaking down the scale of the facades, making it more pedestrian scale, making it more pedestrian friendly, and we do that through small elements that get connected to the facades, the way that we begin to open it up and make doorways, and then also the way that we actually clad it so that the exterior materials are much more subtle, and then the scale of those materials are much reduced so that when you walk up to it, you feel connected. The other thing that we want to do as we begin to open up sort of those retail areas in the shopping mall is to create what we sort of call like micro programming. It's basically ways that we can animate the in-between space. And you do that through small elements that bring, kids together, or, hey, we could even have a s'mores cabin. Just ways of like programming elements to navigate between larger gestures within the overall site. Thinking about one of those big components, we're talking about these circulation trails and the connection back to recreation as a whole, that becomes thematic as this becomes almost like a wellness center. And then so as we connect, we see that it's critical to tie to the hiking, biking, and even create new play areas that can then foster that community connection. And then we create informal areas to gather in, like, for example, on the top right here, we've got this notion of a trailhead. So amenities that can support not only the new sort of reimagined destination Kingston, but then also how that begins to be an amenity for the community at large and how those amenities can actually bridge over. I'm going to turn it over to Mark real quick, and he's going to walk us through a little bit of what the next, some of the elements that we can think of next. And go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Todd?
I got you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. So what this slide is really kind of speaking to, in the next coming weeks and months, we will return to you with some more detailed development of the master plan. But what we wanted to show here is our full intent to return not only to the planning board and stakeholders, but also the community with a series of diagrams which are really kind of soft and personal in scale, and really trying to find ways to socialize the ideas, but also in such a way that we will foster the maximum amount of feedback that we can get from the community. Our preliminary investigations into some of the local benchmarks and other surrounding towns, we've received comments about parking, about safety of parking, about being able to make connections between various elements on the site, and being able to do so in a safe and family habitable way. So these are just kind of soft diagrams which help you kind of articulate really, we want to dial these ideas down, but we want to dial it down in a way that's really approachable to everyone, and really trying to foster a conversation so that we understand what the village and town of Kingston are looking for. This, our approach, as Todd and Howard mentioned, is to try and create a destination Kingston, which is really locally focused, locally driven, and locally supported. With that, I'll turn it back over to Howard.
So again, we're grateful for the opportunity to be sharing these initial thoughts today. This remains a long-term and iterative process, and our team is excited to undertake the steps alongside the Kingston community to rebalance the property and bring a transformation of this community asset into fruition. Moving ahead, we look forward to working together with this group and the broader Kingston community to transition these thoughts toward more concrete steps for the path ahead. We look forward to attending future planning meetings. We're continuing to iterate this process in more active dialogue with the community, including, as mentioned on this slide, starting to iterate into community listening sessions. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you so much. I have to say that this team has been fantastic to work with. We are excited at the staff level and at the town level, I hope, to see such an investment in time and thought being given to this, and also the participation that you've had in our various MBTA task force meetings. You've given us some guidance and direction on how to articulate what we're looking for in our zoning. And I really appreciate you taking the time to give us a preview of where you're headed so that we can all understand that this is a team effort. Does the board have any questions?
Anybody have questions?
Are they basically talking about almost trying to make it like a colony place?
A destination, yeah. A nicer kind of place. I don't know if it will be colony place, but
Well, that
yeah.
type of situation.
Reinvent it. So an example I can think of is the Hanover do-over, where they put up some condos and they really invested in that mall setting to make it. And it's really nice the way it's turned out. It's a little bit of reconstruction that had to happen in between. And we're looking to do something like that, but inherit the uniqueness of Kingston and really look at what Kingston wants. And I think that's the really valuable asset that we have in working with Second Horizon and Page, is that they are listening. And we've had several meetings where we've just been giving them all of our thoughts about the trail, about all these ideas, and they've taken those and they've grown them into their planning process, and we're really thrilled to have that kind of local input to make this into a project that's unique to Kingston.
Based on what I saw in the concepts, it's, like you said, more pedestrian family, so it wouldn't really look like Old Colony Place. I mean, I was picturing just from the concepts, I know this is kind of, probably way out there, but like when you go to Hingham, and you walk around, there's little shops, and, you can safely park your car, walk through, hang out, Mashpee Commons, something like that. And it's great to know that there's an interest in such investment in Kingston.
So you're planning on trying to use a lot of the structure as just redefining it? Is that correct?
Each one of these winds up being a different exercise. So in terms of the specifics of the design, we're still in the early phases. But that being said, between the parcel which has the mall itself and the parcels that we have outside the ring road, we see a unique opportunity to create something that really is more of a mixed experience than something being strictly within a ring road shopping center, if you will.
But you're trying to use some of the structure if you can, right?
Where we can use the structure, where we're able to see opportunities to make what we have better, we're going to work with what we have. But of course, we have to respond to what the mix is going to look like.
I just think about the mall the way it looks now when you drive by. It's kind of like a big warehouse with the name of the thing on the side of it, rather than having a big storefront that's spectacular and all that. That alone would change the entire place. And then if you did something where the mall walkway is that's spectacular, you could really have something there. And then you have all the other land as well. And also the road that you own, that everybody uses to get to Cherry Street and Colony Place and all the other places, there's no saying that has to remain where it is either. So there's a lot of options there.
Yeah, and I think we don't want to get too far ahead because they're not that far along.
No, I know.
Yeah, and these are all great suggestions that I think that we've
Yeah.
put out there, and I don't know, I guess, are there other discussion points too? Because I don't want them to have to give you too much information.
No, I'm not asking, I'm just
Yeah.
saying I could see using a lot of it and just totally change the look of it. It would feel and look completely different.
It's really
Very
exciting.
Very
Yeah.
exciting to see something
Yeah.
different.
We're thrilled.
Tear it down and start over.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my experience working with professional groups, this is a really strong team. And I've worked with a lot of teams, so I'm thrilled.
Val doesn't throw compliments like that around, so.
We're,
Oh,
we're
my.
very excited. We're very excited to be partnering with Kingston. We know that this is an important asset for the town. And we know that this is a spot that's deserving a significant investment. And we want to make sure we're listening on how best to approach that in a way that we're helping deliver a community asset that's really valued by everybody who lives there.
Great.
I hope that they can look at ways to make it an easier asset to get to, either by bike or walking. Right now, it's like, it's an island, you can only get there by car.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous to get there by bike or walking. When I see people walking and biking there, and I'm like terrified for them.
Yeah, there's also people walking through where the commuter rail is and up and along Marion and Gallen,
Yeah.
and then it's hard to get to the mall from there. And so we're working in both sides of it, which is exciting.
Tyler? Yeah? Very quiet.
All right, well,
Must have a feeling.
with that, if I can share my screen, I'm gonna try, I'm on a different laptop. I'm gonna try one more time,
Okay.
see if I have any luck this time. Ooh, this looks possible.
Success.
Yeah, if it opens. Where is it? Oh my God.
Disco.
It's a late show.
I know, this is,
Bad music, we're in.
wow.
Tom's gonna have a seizure.
I'm gonna have a seizure. Wow. Well, after all that,
Wait,
it's not showing up.
is it because it's in, is it
Are you-
also, like,
It's here.
okay, what's this? Nothing?
That,
Everybody have any suggestions?
Yeah,
Just go right over there.
just
yeah,
exit out of sharing a screen and try to open up on its own.
okay.
So go back to not sharing,
Mhm.
and see it on your own. Once you do that, just go back to regular camera. So stop sharing screen completely. And then see if you can open it up on the computer.
Eye projection. Where's my, it's doing something to the software.
Val, if you wanted to email it to me, I'm happy to open it for you and share.
Might be too big.
Yeah,
1,000 kilobytes.
What?
I don't have your email
100
on me or
kilobytes.
anything. I'm just gonna wing it again.
Okay.
Like we've had to in the past. It's very frustrating.
Is it on that computer?
It's on this flash drive, but I can't share from there for some reason, even though I'm in the meeting.
Oh, what? She's, hold on.
She has a message.
Val, can you copy it from the flash drive to the hard drive on that computer?
Hey Val, I just posted in the
It's
chat
on
my
my
email
end.
address.
I'll try again. I'll try one more time.
What I would do is I'd
She
open
made me into a co-host now.
Val, I would open up your presentation before you try to share it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that has an issue. So when you share your screen,
Yep. So I'm
so
gonna
open
try.
up the presentation and then try to share it.
Gotta find the,
Oh, it's because it was changing the software from Mac to Windows.
Well, no, it's a Windows-based software, so, I mean, that shouldn't have been
I've had
happening.
to share stuff before, and then I've had to exit out of sharing. and then
Okay, so let's
reshare
try
and share.
again. Share screen. It's not working.
That seems so hopeful.
Yeah, I know, but it's not sharing my screen. Nope.
Here she comes.
Here she comes.
Is your video on?
Video? I mean, I'm in the meeting, so it should,
Your video
Go back to,
was,
back to the Zoom. Just hit start video, and then try sharing. Let's say allow. Try to share now.
I'm already sharing.
That's weird.
Yeah,
it's not.
it's not right.
Did something wrong.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
okay. We tried it, and Tyler is the expert, so.
Did you want to email it or just wing it?
Val, I posted my email in the chat, if you can get to the chat, if you want to try
I
and
think
send
I'm
it to
just
them.
gonna wing it, quite
Okay.
honestly. So, if everyone can remember the mixed-use overlay district that we have for the mall, we kind of went where the mall is, and then we also took the land that they owned at the time, which extended up into Marion and Gallen. And this shape that we're using for the overlay district takes from that. And it just clips Marion and Gallen away from the mall itself. And our shape of that district does not include Macy's and does not include Target, but it includes the rest of the property. So we have a sub-district A, which is Marion and Gallen Drive. Not the whole thing, but just as you come around the corner, when you're getting closer to the mall. So you're getting close to the A3 storage building on the corner. That's where it starts. And you take a right.
A+ storage, yeah.
Yeah, and then you go down past the storage facility, the self-storage, and then there's two more buildings. And it's all on the right-hand side. It does include the A3 storage facility. That's the only building on the mall side of Marion Drive. And then you're sort of in the Toyota dealership and working your way around the corner for a couple of lots, all on the corner that's away from the mall on Marion and Gallen Drive. So that's, if you can visualize that, that's it.
Just like the mailing place and the awning place?
Yeah, yeah.
Val has gone and met with all these people too.
Yeah, so we call the part that's on Marion and Gallen Sub-District A, and we call the part that's the mall Sub-District B. And what we're doing is we're drafting language. The state is requiring us to use what's called site plan review. Those who watch the planning board would be familiar with us. We use site plan review all the time. Site plan review is a process that we need a majority of the board to say yes to. It's not really set up as a denial. It's set up as site plan review so that we can add conditions, we can talk about the phasing, we can talk about landscaping, architecture, and design, and impacts on traffic and things like that. So all of that information, like a special permit, but not a special permit, gets filed with the application all the time. And in this case, what we'll do is notify abutters, but there's no public hearing process. There'd be a scheduled site plan review with notice to abutters, and that would be in both districts. And then in the sub-district B, which is the mall, since we just heard from the mall, I'm gonna start there. We're looking at the ability to then have by right uses through site plan review as required by the MBTA zoning. And what we're gonna do in that zoning is reference all the underlying zoning. Easy peasy. So site plan review, we can add, it has to have a housing component if they use this process as part of what they're doing. It allows for that mixed-use component. The density is up to 16 units per acre, which is a little less dense than if you take the parking lot and the Trammell Crow apartment building, now called The Point. That's a little bit more density than what we're talking about. And what we've done, working with Mark and Todd at Page that just presented to you, they've come up with a form-based diagram that we're going to insert into the sub-district to say that the architecture of the building will be in keeping with the existing four-story building, because we will allow up to 4 stories at the mall, but it won't go higher than that. And we want to make sure the mechanicals, which is like the air conditioning and the vents and those, are screened from all sides. So they've done a couple of diagrams depending on the type of roofing that they use, which will then dictate that it will be in keeping in terms of massing and the impact and the feel of the building to what we have. And we like what we have, you know, it looks nice. So that's what we're doing in Sub-District B. I've noted that in my review of everything, I've found that it looks like we never took that Murad district and put it in the zoning maps, which we need to do as a housekeeping item. So you'll see me come to you and say, oh, and we need to add this to the zoning maps, because we forgot to do that when we adopted the zoning. And it's just something we need to do as a housekeeping item. So that's Sub-District B. It's site plan review. We have all the infrastructure in place. We have the water, we have the sewer, we have the traffic controls, we have a lot of it in place. So we'll be looking at a phased kind of master plan approach in the line of what they just showed you under site plan review. Now, when you come to Sub-District A, I'm switching gears a little bit. Now we're down by the Toyota dealership, and we're coming around where the awning company is and working our way by A3 storage. Down there, we're thinking that the site feels a little different, and we're looking at 3-story buildings, and even a little less density at 15 units per acre. And in all cases, we're following the zoning with 1.5 parking spaces minimum per bedroom. And we're saying, here's what we've got set up, here's what we want to do. We're not able to limit beyond that in terms of the types of structures. We don't want to go past the 10% inclusionary, which is going to apply to this, because it's fiscally being found that if you get past, say, 13%, you're really pushing it in terms of the ability to recoup your money on your investment. So it also makes this process a lot more complicated getting approved by the state. So a lot of towns are staying at 10%. We've stayed at 10%. And in that case, we're in a little bit of a different feel of a district where we've got existing commercial and industrial uses that are okay, they stay. In fact, they may just stay there and we'll never know that this zoning was adopted. But if they want to use this zoning, they can. And if they use this zoning, they'll put residential in there, and they might put residential over. But we think that the uses there need to reflect the mall, not the industrial park. So we're going to say that if you're mixing your residential use on your lot, and those lots are much smaller, it's not going to be the same capacity whatsoever. But we're going to say, you should be over a retail type of thing, or laundromat, or, things that make sense for being near residential. And then the other thing we have to think about when we're in that district, and this has come up in other towns' reviews, is that we have adult use zoning, which is allowed in that district. It has to be 500 feet from the road, but the Attorney General is also looking for us to add a buffer to existing residential, which I think makes sense. We don't have that. So we'll come to town meeting with a slew of little tiny housekeeping items, which are going to be at a 70%, 2/3 vote, a buffer to existing residential for adult uses. And we're also going to say that new commercial and industrial uses in the park, if there's an existing residential use, in those cases, they're going to have to look to buffer the residential. But the existing doesn't have to do any changes or anything like that. And when the residential comes in, we'll be talking to them about buffering to their surrounding uses as well. So those are the kind of big differences. It's a little smaller type of feel that's more in keeping with the industrial park in terms of what kinds of structures we want in there. And we're working really closely with them all to make sure that we've got all the right uses. We need to articulate that kind of outdoor space a little bit better, which we'll do as part of the zoning. So what I'm suggesting is that we have those two things pretty well thought out. We're working on the mathematics and the technicalities of getting it all, making sure we've tied all the loose ends in our zoning before we say, okay, let's send it off to the state, let's send it off to town council. It's still following the same process that we already have, site plan review, but it's gonna be this special overlay district that refers to the rest of the bylaw and says, you're in site plan review, and you're just gonna need to add a narrative on how you meet this if you're trying to do this, and show us that you have that density. And so we think it should fit pretty well. You know, Jason and I have been working on this together. We've met with Todd and Mark a couple of times to talk through the height of the building and the form of the building. That the drawing that they've given us has 3 different types of roof styles. So we're feeling really good about this, and I'm just at that point where I'm buttoning up those little pieces I just talked about. And if you would like me to, I can come back on the 24th of June. We need to meet anyway. We have a special permit, and give you a full set in advance for you to review if you want that. If you don't need that, I can just take your go-ahead to say, okay, we're gonna final those things up, get it to town council and get it to the state. The goal is that we wanna get this to the state on or after the June 24th meeting, because we need the state to start their 90-day clock. And then what happens is, so let's say we get it to them by July 1st, August, so you got July, August, September, we're gonna get their feedback in early October, and town meeting will be November 19th, we think. So it'll give us enough time to make whatever tweaks we need to make before town meeting. And that's the timeline. So there's not much else. I'm looking at my notes to see if I've missed anything, but I don't believe that I have. Oh, yeah. And, the other thing I wanted to add is that with the mall site, Jason and I have looked through the signage zoning, and we feel that it makes sense in this case, since we're talking about master planning and phasing, if they do want to come in and use this mechanism to do their redevelopment, which they could do, what we want to do is have a master plan signage component built into that. When I did Colony Place, we ended up doing a master plan sign permit for them, and they gave a sign package to the town. And then what that does is it makes it easier when you change tenants or whatever, as long as the lighting and the components of that signage are in keeping with that master plan, there's no need to come back to us every time there's a new tenant with a new sign. So we would like to do that. That's what we did for Colony Place. And if we make it part of the site plan review process, it's one cohesive, one board review, which makes sense. Otherwise, if we leave it to our zoning bylaw, signage is often a variance process through the zoning board of appeals, because our sign bylaw is not that great when you look at a site like this. They don't fit very well. In fact, I'll probably come to you with both a master plan signage component for the sign bylaw separately from this, but then also have a package within the site plan review for the MBTA mall portion of the zoning overlay district, just to enhance the possibility that they would use this, and that will give us something that is easy to work with. So that's it.
Questions, anybody? Tyler?
I think we should just allow Val to do the latter and just go ahead, and we don't have not deal with that booklet.
Yeah, we've covered everything that will be in it, and it's really just reading, the list. It's not very exciting language, but it's here.
Did you say that it's not gonna require a public hearing, just site plan review?
That's the state law. So,
Why
but
would you notify abutters then?
because it's a big project, and what happened to us, for example, when we did the, before my time, there was a large solar panel array which impacted abutters, but they weren't notified, and there was quite a hard feelings on that. And in this case, we're talking about a very large public facility in a sense. It's public space.
I don't have a problem with notifying them, I'm just curious as what input would they have?
They could come to the hearing and speak to you about their thoughts and ideas. That's it.
Okay.
We've seen that when there's a zoning case and you are giving input during site plan review on its way to zoning, where the neighbors come and they tell you their concerns and thoughts, and sometimes that really does direct some of our conversation.
It's a great courtesy.
So I think it's
if nothing
worthwhile,
else.
yeah,
I think there's a great opportunity with that property to have something that nobody else has.
yeah.
I mean, you look at Hingham, it's like a pigeonhole when you go in there. Yeah, I mean, it's nice and all, but,
Hard to find
Is
parking.
your mic on, John?
yeah, sorry, it's like a pigeonhole when you go into Hingham. You know, here we have an opportunity to have really something special that nobody else has.
Yeah,
Destination Kingston.
that's the goal for, that Second Horizon has in mind, and
Very
we as a
exciting.
team want to support that as much as we can.
Val, do we need to look at the parking requirements in order to like, I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of parking spaces there at the mall. Like, and it's driven by our ridiculous
Well,
parking
s-
requirement, right?
No, well, we're not using our zoning bylaw, which actually
Yeah.
is much less parking required than it used to be. You guys already took that step,
We did? Okay.
yeah, to downsize your parking requirements since the mall was built.
Okay.
So your zoning's actually way better than it looks when you look at the mall, because the mall was built before you guys proactively made that change.
Yeah, we did that with Bot.
Yeah,
I don't remember that. Okay, I thought we talked about it, but I didn't know we actually.
it's been a number of years,
We
but,
changed the number of spaces, we did compact car spaces,
Yeah.
stuff like that way back.
yeah.
Is that across town or just at the mall?
Just
No, all-
Is it the mall? What?
Yeah, but you also did it across town in terms of the number of spaces required for commercial and
Yeah.
across the town. So we can look carefully at the parking. As I said, right now, we're looking at 1.5 spaces per bedroom and probably some additional for visitors. But we're focusing on the residential component, and we are looking to refer to the zoning bylaw for the rest of it.
I got a call a couple of weeks ago from the guy that runs Stop and Shop.
Uh-huh.
um,
Yeah,
Because
they're-
he's having a problem with the ZBA, with something to do with his sign.
Yeah.
Is this gonna help clean up our sign bar, the way, the language is for the signage around town?
I think we need to do that. The building department agrees, because almost every sign is coming in asking for a variance. So our sign bylaw is clearly out of date.
Right.
Very restrictive.
Yeah, and the reason that, what we did for Colony Place and what I would suggest we do for Kingston, what I did there was I took all of the variances that had ever been granted and all of the work that Plymouth had already done on cases, and I did the math, and that's how we came up with the master plan signage percentages for Colony Place. So we're similar to Plymouth when it comes to the type of signage that we have, and I think we could easily look at that Colony Place master plan as a guidepost, because I know how I developed it was to go through case after case after case and look at the percentage of building coverage that had to do with a sign. And we proportionally said, this is your icon sign for the square footage of your site. And I put a lot of time into that, and I
You're
think it's
talking about signage on the building.
on the building and
And
separate from the building. Mhm. And wayfinding signs within the site. Like you see, when you go into Colony Place, there are little signs telling you, oh, this is the living center, this is the, this center, and there's directional signs. That's part of their master plan package.
I just noticed a lot of these temporary signs that seem to be popping up all over in different places, like the Dunkin' Donuts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do we have any control over it? Do they just
Our
do
building
it?
commissioner has control over that.
So they get permission to do that?
I suppose so.
I don't know.
That seem to be temporary, permanently temporary.
Right.
Yeah, they're plywood and they're out there and it's partially blocking
Or
the
little
public view.
streamers that are, little
Yeah.
Well, one call-
plastic things that
If we
just
get back to
fade.
the signage for, like where elevated routes and Lowe's and all those people that. we
Oh,
sent.
right. I've sent out a letter to Amazon, Lowe's, Elevated Routes, and the plumbing company, JF Webb, I think it is. FW Webb, thank you. On the Amazon corner there that goes into Plymouth, and said, we would like to put a sign on town land where the Lowe's is supposed to be paying us a license fee every year and has stopped paying years ago. We could terminate that license at any time and tell them, or we can take the sign down. But what I'd like to do is cooperatively get a sign that looks nice and is an entrance sign to that industrial park that has those 4, and then there's a 5th pad in there that's not occupied, room for 5. Elevated Roots and the plumbing company have come back and said they're very interested. So we have to go back to Lowe's and Amazon and see if we can get them interested, or we can just go ahead. The selectmen have control of the license. So we've made formal correspondence to them. I know there's been phone calls made to them, and they're not responsive.
Of course they're not.
Of course they're not, but we don't have to leave that sign up. No one has to leave that sign up. We can terminate the lease at any time, is what we found through working with town council. So what we would like to do is say, we want to terminate your lease, but in the interest of cooperative, we want you instead to put your signage here. And then it's actually visible when you come off the entrance, the entrance ramps or the exit ramps. You'll actually see, oh, that's where Amazon and Lowe's and Elevated Roots are. It's in there. We're thinking blue, blade signs, so if it changes, you just put new signs in. And I think it would be great, and we have 2 out of 4 that think it's a great idea. And maybe that's all we need is 2 out of 4, and we take down the Lowe's sign, and then they have some options. They could come to you and say, wow, we'd really like a blade on your blade sign. So that's what we're trying to do, working with the town administrator, and hopefully that will give us some, some momentum. There's no private land on that corner that's available, but the public land is. There's room there for that sign, so.
So what is the Lowe's on now, currently?
They're on town land
Okay.
with a license, and they're not
They
paying.
just stopped paying.
They stopped paying,
How many years ago?
a long time ago.
A long time ago.
That was old, we did, that's the letter.
I know what happens when I stop paying stuff.
Yeah, our town hasn't followed up on that, which is unfortunate, but we can. Here we are trying to be proactive and say,
Yeah.
look, and I think maybe their fee was quite high, which might be why they stopped paying the license fee. So,
It was probably something administrative where someone said, what's this bill for? A big company like that, it's easy for.
no, it was in their permit.
I know, but who is paying the bill?
It's not being paid by the Lowe's.
Yeah, it's not being paid by the Lowe's.
It's owed by the Lowe's.
I know,
Okay.
but the administrative person at Lowe's who pays the bill.
The general
Well,
manager
you know
pays the
why,
bill, and the
right?
general
Yeah.
manager's not responding to
Yeah.
the letter.
Okay.
That's why.
It'll probably change every year.
Yeah, so
All right.
we're working on that. Anyway, that's
That's good.
it. And if you guys are okay with that, I'm just gonna work on the details I talked about, and I'll get that to the state as soon as I can and through town council, and, before July 1st.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
Thanks, Val.
Yeah.
Thank
I know
you.
it's a lot of work. And Aaron?
I don't do anything anymore.
Yeah, well, I knew, but I was just trying to be nice.
Val, you must have a really large dustpan, because you're cleaning up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
well, that's what you want, is to,
Paid for.
yeah.
All right, so next we have a performance guarantee and lot release, Charles Drive, Greystone Village.
Yeah, so in this case, we have our developer, who's really great, Mike Ferrone, at Briarwood, and they've been doing really nice construction in there. Charles Drive looks great. We've had no issues in there. What's happened is when they're working with some of their buyers for lots in there, they want to do a swap right now. Right now, we have released, I think, 10 or 11 lots total. So we referred to the old lot release and said, yes, we'll allow you to swap out while they work out. Because I've said to them, I don't want to do a performance guarantee until you've recorded the CR, and they're nearly done recording the CR on the open space in the back. And also, we don't have the LIP agreement for the first affordable unit and the second affordable unit that are required. And that's nearly done. So by the time we get here on June 24th, we'll probably be putting a performance guarantee in place. But in the interim, he's actually got a house he'd like to close on. And he's perfectly fine pulling permits and building without lot releases. It's when he goes to a sale that he has to come through you.
How can you get a building permit without a lot release?
A lot release is allowed if the developer is building the homes, because he doesn't have to sell those lots until it's time. That's how it works. So he has 2 lots which he'd like to be able to sell in the meantime and swap out his previous lot release for those 2 lots. So we had previously released lots 7 and lots 1 from the subdivision, and now instead of those 2, we want to take those and say that they will be rescinded, and instead we're going to release lots 19 and 12. Thanks, Tyler. To allow them to make those transactions while they put together, we have the dollar amount that we've assigned to it. We've negotiated all of that, and I've just said, before I bring it to you, I want to button up those loose ends and make sure that we're not going to fall behind. So they're going to have that for you on June 24th. But in the interim, we're asking that you please rescind Lot 7 and Lot 1 from the previous release. And that's recorded at Book 57117, page 174 in the Registry of Deeds. And instead release lots 19 and 12. And if you vote to that effect, I can get that to them for recording.
Everybody got it so moved?
Don't they have to, wouldn't they be filling out a regular lot release? No?
We didn't have time this afternoon to do the paperwork to fill out the lot release, but I'll type that up, and
So you're just looking for us to
if
say
you
yes?
vote it, and then I can, we can follow you up for signatures to get on that lot release. But I hadn't had time this afternoon to get that done.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions about this? We're just rescinding 2 lots and opening up 2 others once for them.
Makes sense. I think you explained it well.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, it's 5-0.
And then we have the escrow release you mentioned. And so good accounting practices would be that as we move through a project and we finish reviewing it, that we reach out to the developer, remind them that we have their money, and return it. Unfortunately, that hasn't been a practice in Kingston. And, previously we brought to you about $40,000 that we've released. I have another $40,000, give or take, that we want to ask you to release. And it's a lot of work on Aaron's part to track down these people that are still around in most cases, and we give their money back. It's not town money. It's been accruing interest sometimes for 20 years in this case. And we want to make sure that we clear our books and get down to what's under construction and where we should actually be holding the cash. And I did a pretty detailed table for you of when the things were developed, if they're finished. And I'm only recommending the ones that I think are ready to go and I know are finished and there's no outstanding issues. There's only one that I want to take off of the list, and that's Prospect Streets, Freedom Boats. I have on there a note that we're keeping an eye on the landscaping. If you recall, they did some plantings late last fall, and then there was a couple of big windstorms that we had over the winter months, and a lot of their trees have been blown askew, and then they had somebody come in and stake all the trees, but they didn't straighten them out, which is unfortunate. So we've made them aware that we want that changed before we release what we have. We don't have a lot because it's just inspection monies. And they've also assured me that they've contacted the landscaping company who decided to stake the trees in that condition and not straighten them. And they have a performance guarantee themselves that the landscaping company has to honor. So if they're going to get around to it, but they haven't done it yet. And I was urging them to try to do it right away because growing season is underway and we would like those trees to survive. They're very beautiful, significant trees in terms of what's a new planting. They're several feet high already. So I don't want to release them, but the others are all in good shape. So if we just cross that one off. Mm-hmm.
Couple questions, like, are we releasing money to Indian Pond Estates?
No,
Who's the Indian Pond Swimming Pool? Is that like a private company?
Oh, that's just a swimming pool. We have we reviewed the swimming pool, I think, 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
There's no reason for us to hold on to that couple $100. We are holding
It's almost, well, it's close to 1,000, but.
1,000.
Like, who's
If
that
you
going
want to
to?
pull that off, we can. That's Fred Jr. and not the person that we have lawsuits with. It's just Fred Sr., I believe. But if you want to withhold that one, that's fine.
Swimming pool is Frenzy.
We have
Is it Fred Sr.?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's pull that one off,
And
too.
then the other one I had a slight question about was, what was it?
Lowe's.
Well, Lowe's. Yeah, did you see the mess they created in the parking lot again? Oh, jeez.
We can hold those.
What's going on, like the Kingston wind thing, like, don't we have like active lawsuits with them?
No, that's all been
It's all
resolved. The
been
turbine
finally-
was removed. We're all set.
Okay, I wasn't sure, I thought there was still some beef going on. but not.
Not that
Okay.
I'm aware of.
Okay. I can't, some of these are so old, it's like,
Isn't it funny?
really.
Kind of.
Wow.
Well, it's not funny, but
It's a lot of work for me to go through and pull these
Yeah.
from the archives to try to figure
I will
out.
ask you guys though, so as I'm trying to track these people down, because obviously I need either, their W-9 or whatever, W-2. The Supreme Basketball, does anybody know what that is, or,
yeah, that's
They-
what,
they
that's
don't
where
exist
UPS
anymore.
is now.
Yeah,
oh, so down by like Goodrich?
yep.
Okay,
Same building as UPS.
We're gonna have to find a way to track those people down.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I couldn't find really anything. on
When we
that
go
side.
through the minutes, sometimes we can get the name of the individual and the LLC,
Yeah.
and then we can find that individual by searching the web and track them down.
Yeah,
But
it's probably only like 5 years ago, right, that UPS went in there, so. it wasn't that long.
longer than that,
Longer
but
than that, yeah.
2007.
it's
You-
on there.
Time flies by.
You know what I learned? The best way to find out is if a town planner is doing their job properly, is to hire one that does.
Well, so we can pull those, and we can pull Indian Pond Estates, and I'd pull Freedom Boat from the
How about
list.
O'Donnell? Do we have anything outstanding with her?
Well, we're in court, but it's not related to that.
Yeah.
Everything that is on that property is in court.
Why don't you start a
I wasn't
website?
sure we should be sending money back.
FindKingstonMoney.com.
Well, it's hard for me to, I don't want to keep
Yeah,
track of
I
this
know,
money,
I know.
and it's work for us, and it's really not of much value.
We can't do anything
Small
with it.
amount of money.
Yeah, it's not our money.
It
It's
just
not our
aggravates you.
money, and it's not good
I was
practice
just
to
wondering if
hold
she
it.
owed us anything. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. That's all.
What's
You
that?
just
I
couldn't
wouldn't be
use that for
surprised,
that
I
anyway.
wouldn't be surprised if she owed us some money, that's why I'm questioning it.
She's paid in her, she has to pay every year to pay into the decommissioning of the turbines, and she has paid this year, and she's
Yeah.
paid last year and every other year.
No outstanding property taxes, nothing like that, right?
No.
Okay. That's another thing. You checked all these
Oh,
for back property taxes?
Taxes doesn't matter unless you have to give it back.
Doesn't? Yeah?
This isn't related to that, but we do check.
Okay. All right.
Well, you know, like this, there's an interesting thing that I found out by being a plumbing inspector is, in a lot of towns, like if Bob Glawson building goes into a town hall and he wants to put an addition on my house and I owe taxes, the town has to give him the permit.
Yeah.
Because it's not me taking the permit, it's him, and he doesn't owe the town any money. And most towns get this wrong and they get in trouble.
Yeah.
It's, this money really has nothing to do with these entities, it really, I mean, it does, but it's not, like we keep it and use it towards something else.
We're on them if they're not paying taxes, but through the tax collector's office, and this would actually help getting them to pay by giving them some of their money back that's theirs, in theory.
Not some of them, I know.
But what it is right now is work for us. We're paying in a separate group now to keep track of all these accounts and accrue all the interest individually on each account. So it's actually becoming a cost burden to the town.
Let's clean it up.
You know, 95% of these I don't have a problem with, it's just those couple that I mentioned that are like,
Well, whichever ones you'd like to pull,
Yeah.
So
please
Freedom
name
Boat
them.
Club is one of them.
yep,
What was the other one?
Indian Pond Pool.
swimming pool,
I mean,
and I think that's it.
do we really need to do those?
Indian Pond Swimming Pool, what are you gonna do with the money?
No.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do with it.
Can't do anything.
I think we should just.
He could come
the only
ask for
one
it,
I
we'd
think
have
we
to give it
should
to him
do
anyway.
Free.
Is Freedom Boat Club.
Indian Pond. If he came and asked us for that money, we're obliged to give it to him.
We have to by law.
Yeah.
So let's
Yes.
just let's just let it release it.
Except for the things that.
No, I don't like it either.
Owes or something.
It's not our money.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah, just, you can do these 2 pages as
Just-
presented, except for Freedom
Just
Book
Freedom
Club.
Book Club, right?
Do you have any more?
There's,
Apparently, you say it's illegal to hold the money, so I don't know.
It's like it's a separate account. It's just for inspections. It's just for engineering.
Make a motion to release the funds held in escrow accounts for a completed project that Val has, or Aaron has listed, except excluding Freedom Boat Club.
I second the motion.
I'm gonna just read just the names of the entities, just so that if somebody knows any of these people.
please let us
While
know.
there's a motion open. Old Colony Realty Trust, Village at Russell Pond, Lowe's, the Pyramid Mall, that must be, Indian Palms Pond Swimming Pool Plan Review, DSR 46 Summer Street, Silver Lake Commons, Supreme Basketball, Kennedy Donovan Center, which they're still there, Kingston Wind, Cadet Enterprises, Summer Hill, Cumberland Farms, James O'Leary, 165 Wapping Road, 121 Main Street, that's for the prior owner.
right,
We saw like 4 plans for that. Wapping Road Estates, don't know what that is, PB Verizon Wireless, PB Greystone Village, PB 55 Summer Street,
yeah, PB stands for Planning Board Account now. That's, these
Okay.
are, yeah.
that's a new one, isn't it? 8 Gallon Road, Sullivan, Toyota, W.M. Gould and Prestige Way, O'Donnell Parking and Solar Plan, 126 Ring Road, Cole Street, 1 lot subdivision plan, 182 Summer Street, Citizens Bank, 48 Howlands Lane, Rentham W, whatever that is. Tremont, 163 Summer, and we're not doing Freedom Boat Club.
I do know you can find Brian Bristol at JF Price
Okay,
up in Weymouth.
Yep.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Village at Russell Pond. That's the one he's talking about.
The second one.
Okay. You know, okay, you'll let me know where I can find him, where I can track him down, like a bounty hunter,
Yeah, 'cause
a
we-
bounty giver,
we literally have to find them.
JF Price.
Okay, and we have to get their W-9 form, and then we're able to process checks. So it just bring us current. We'll have about 6 or 7 of these accounts instead of, I think we had about 120 when I got here. So just-
Okay, so we
Just
have a
knock it down.
motion on the table, and it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Is that aye, like in favor, or is that
In favor.
Okay,
begrudgingly? I get it. No, I understand it.
In favor with disdain.
respected.
Okay, that's a
Okay.
review for that.
One more thing to, is sunsetting of, so there's only 2 more things on the agenda in there. One of them is that, in trying to apply, one of the reasons we're doing the MBTA zoning is because we want to be eligible for grant money. And I was going to try and get a grant from the state this year from the Community One-Stop Program, which is where all the roadblocks are being built. And when I went to fill out the application, one of the questions came up and said, do you have residential phasing in your zoning? Because if you do, you're not eligible. So that's something new that they've added, and we have residential phasing.
We don't,
We didn't sunset it, and normally when you adopt that, you sunset it. So what I'd like to do is sunset that residential phasing in the fall when we do the MBTA zoning, for the same reasons that we're doing the MBTA zoning, is so that we're able to apply for grant money.
and what is sunsetting?
What's that mean?
Sunset means end it, like say it's gonna end such as the day of town meeting, or it ends in 1 year, or ends in 6 months. but just say, you know, we're done phasing construction. When we built the last couple of projects, including the Trammell Crow apartment building, they went and had to get a variance from the ZBA in order to build because we have this in place. And they granted it. So we're really not needing this now anyway. We have 0 subdivisions other than 2 that are under construction right now. We have Charles Drive, which we just talked about, and then we have Sylvia Pond Estates with 1 lot and Charles Drive with about 10 lots, and then we're done with any new construction because of the water moratorium and the sewer moratorium, which is unfortunate. But we're also kind of built out. We're getting pretty close to build out. And so we have to keep in mind that it's probably not useful to have the residential phasing bylaw anyway. And it's also detrimental to us now to have it in terms of being able to get funding.
I'm not familiar with that, so.
It means that only, so what we've said is only, I think it's 4% of our existing housing stock can be built in any given year. And
I think it used to be
it's
like if
even-
you had a 20-house subdivision, you can only build 5 a year.
Yeah, it like limited the number of units that could be built town-wide, because everybody adopted this in like the 80s, when it was a complete growth spurt,
Yeah.
because the highway and everybody's land values went up, and then boom, there was huge building everywhere.
Yep.
And
It didn't work well anyway, because ideally you want to develop it, to build the whole road. And,
Right.
you know, how do they really cover their
Slow it
money if they
down.
can only build 5 houses?
Right.
And so it never worked well, and that's why people would come for
the variance,
for variance and relief on that, and they were given it because it didn't never worked.
yeah.
Most towns after a certain, once things kind of calmed down, just ignored it. They didn't even
No,
acknowledge it.
almost all the towns around here have that.
So that's why the state has added this to their checklist.
They don't want us to be able to stop
They don't want us
anything.
to be able to stop anything, and that's why it came up. They added it this year. It wasn't there in last year's grant process. So I was filling it out and went, pop, you're not eligible. So I was done after.
So we need to do that
I'd like to do that in the fall.
in the fall town meeting.
For the reasons I just said, and just sort of sunset it. We don't have to take it out of the bylaw or anything, but we just say if it sunsets
Yeah, it ends
effective.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sunset goes down tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's
All
not
right,
useful
so
for us.
everybody's fine with that? Everybody understands it?
Hopefully it's a beautiful sunset.
Okay. Open space, letter of support.
So the open space plan was updated and sent to the state, and we're really excited to hear that they came back and said it's approved conditionally, which means we're now eligible to apply for grants, which relate to open space and recreation, and that's great news. And they gave us a short list of things that they want us to get that weren't in the original requirements, but that they decided that we should also get. And one of them is a letter of support from the planning board. And I sent all of you a link to the current plan because it's several hundred pages long.
Yeah. Yep.
But, you know, that's an intensive plan where the Open Space Committee, working with Matt over in Conservation, worked very hard over the last couple of years to do maps of all the resources and think through trail mapping and look really long and hard at all of the land that we own, land that's in control of the Wildlands Trust, land that's in hold of other trusts, and map all of it so that we know where it is and who controls it, and also get a sense of where the existing Chapter 61 land is, which means that's in a program that we have a right of first refusal. And they do strategizing from that, and we also look and say, well, what kind of facilities, you know, do we have enough pickleball courts, for example, for the population? So those are the kinds of things that that plan puts in place, and it's updated, I think, every 7 to, I think they might have just extended it to a little bit longer, but right now, my memory is telling me it's every 7 years or so, and it's a requirement to be eligible for grants. So they did a lot of hard work, it's already been approved, and we're just asking for a letter of support from this board.
I tell you what, this, you know, people say, well, why don't we just ignore the MBTA zoning and this now? Like, people don't understand how much support we get from our state. Now, I've given the speech a million times, I think it's blackmail, because it's our money anyway, and I still believe that. That's just like any housing program that comes in from the state, like 40B and all those, just things that get forced down our throats. But at the same time, your hands are kind of tied. Because if I think about the grants and the money that we've got for schools and the money we've got, grant money over the years, for the schools when we built them, for the sewer, for the IDENA that we just did, for the properties we bought up on Silver Lake, the properties out behind the high school off of Grove Street, all those are only possible because of grants.
Yep.
And we're not the kind of town that's in the position to be able to just come up with that kind of money. And we keep getting these grants from the state, and our hands are tied. We have to do this.
Yeah,
And, you know, a good portion of the land that we're zoning will never be built for MBTA zoning, I'm quite sure of it. But
yeah.
it's available.
And the state did flex and allow us to use a lot of them all, which is super for us. And so that was a partnership approach that they flexed and let us do that. So that's, you know, one positive that came out of that negotiation.
Okay, so, could someone, is everybody okay with giving a letter of support on this? Did we vote on that? We did not.
Not yet.
No, that's I think the last business we have besides
meeting minutes.
Right.
Yeah, the letter of support for the, what did they just do with it? Doesn't matter, I read it, so. All right. Does anybody have a motion for us to give a letter of support on the Kingston Open Space and Recreation Plan?
So moved.
Moved by Jonathan? Second. Second by Bob. Any further discussion? No issues? All those in favor say aye.
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 Yep, that's yours. Opposed? Abstentions? It's 5-0-0. Okay, now we have minutes. We have minutes of January 8th. Roll call. Tom, David, and Jonathan. No Bob? No
Yeah,
Alex?
so I'm gonna make a motion to accept the minutes of January 8th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes of January 8th as written.
Yep.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Abstain.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Bob and Alex abstain.
So I think, do you guys have the April 22nd in your packet? I feel like maybe you don't. I've just been recycling these minutes over and over. Okay.
No, but we
I
have,
have them here.
we have May 11th.
Yep.
Yeah.
April 8th.
April 8th, I want to say, let me see. At this meeting on April 22nd, we did approve the minutes of April 8th and March 25th.
Okay.
So those ones I think are good now.
Okay.
April 8th,
Like I said, I
March
looked at my-
25th.
So
So
22nd
this
and
is-
May 11th.
So this one here we need, May 11th.
This one first.
These were already done, you mean?
Yes, those were already
Were these sent
approved.
out to anybody?
How do you mean? Oh, like on the email?
Yeah?
Yes,
This one here was?
yes. That's how I caught that, like Val did it right, and then I was like, wait, I don't think I put that in their packet. So
Yeah, I read
printed it.
these, they were in the email.
Oh, I remember this one now.
Yeah.
Gene Landis, yeah.
Yeah, and the one for May 11th was just that impromptu one that you had before the town meeting.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from April 22nd as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded to accept the minutes of April 22nd, 2024 as printed. All those in favor say aye.
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 Abstain.
Jonathan abstains.
So the only one left is May 11th?
May 11th.
Okay. I'll
Let's see.
I'll make a motion to approve
No,
the
Bob.
minutes of May 11th, 2024.
Second.
Oh, Alex got it. He beat me.
Seconded by Alex. All right, motion was to approve the minutes, meeting minutes of May 11, 2024. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions,
Abstain.
Bob abstains.
Just want to thank Aaron again for helping us run a
Thank
smooth
you, Aaron.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
That was
Wicked
a lot to
awesome.
cover. You're
Yeah.
wicked awesome. Thanks for everybody for showing up. It makes it
Yeah.
much easier to
If I
get
could
stuff.
make a couple of
Thanks to
comments.
Second Horizon.
Dunkin' Donuts, they did everything we asked them to do. So I think the place really, it looks a lot better.
It does look nice.
But that's
Thank
one of
you,
the
guys.
signs I was talking about, though, that they were going to stick that plywood sign with 2x4s built on the side of the street.
Well, that's because they built a sign, never got it approved, it didn't fit the zoning, and they had to take it down and go to the zoning board of appeals.
They were in front of every Dunkin' Donuts everywhere.
Oh,
The same
okay.
sign.
Yeah, those shouldn't be.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know that property down by Howland's Lane that came in about the golf carts?
Yeah.
Didn't we tell them not to put them up in
Yes.
the building in the grass area? I mean,
Yeah.
they are covering the property.
Loaded.
Yeah, well, can we,
Our building commissioner is the zoning enforcement agent, so we
yeah,
could
can we
ask
look
him.
up the
I think-
details of that?
I think what we said was they can't park on the side of the building on one side, but they could park on the side of the building on the other side. They can't park in front up by the street
Which they are.
Which it's up there.
unless they're in their parking spaces. But since the parking spaces aren't striped, maybe they're just like
They
ad
should put them right
hoc.
on the grass, right up against the building, all the
They're
way
right up
across.
in the landscaping part that we told them not to.
Yeah.
Stuck between the tree and the building.
Yeah.
I think we said they could park there,
No.
but they couldn't park on the other side
They
where,
couldn't I don't know, can we, is that something we can
Yeah.
look up?
I thought they said, we said to Val's point, but they couldn't take up the spaces on the ground level.
I
Because
don't know.
those were parking
Yeah, and they
spaces.
weren't supposed to remove any of the landscaping either.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like 10
What
of them.
little landscaping was there.
Yeah, I know.
It looks
Yeah.
like there's a lot, they just brought in a lot of inventory. It does look pretty surrounded, so
Yeah,
maybe
I'll-
we just
I'll
look
look.
into it.
yeah.
Let's look into it and then we'll
So-
bring it to Jason's
Might be a
attention if
transitional
they're
thing.
not in compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy to do that.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, thank you, Val, thank you, Aaron,
Yeah.
thank you,
Thank
board,
you
for
as
coming.
always.
Thank you.
Thanks for the angel in the room over there that can't hear us, I always thought she could. I gave her all these compliments and she never heard one of them in 30 years. All right,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Somebody wants to
Thank you,
oppose that?
Second Horizon.
You can sit alone. Meeting is
Thank you.
over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.